Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 12th episode of the Spread Podcast. I'm your host, Joe. I'm here with George and Christian once again. And let's get right into it. Christian, the big day is almost here. George, I know you're going to be putting in some bets.
Oh, yeah,
I know we're all excited. So, Christian, I want to start off with you, man. As we get closer and closer, there starts to be more and more things that we seem to figure out, and teams get maybe a bit more nervous. It's the Pats. They're the younger team out of the two. Who do you got?
It has to be Seattle. I just can't envision the Patriots winning. Like I mentioned previously, I think what we see is that we have a young team with a young quarterback. We saw with the Cincinnati Bengals where they went on this run that no one expected. They went to the Super Bowl, and it just didn't work out for them. Ultimately, they got beat by a stronger team, and I think that's more of what we're going to see on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, same thing for me. Seahawks. I think we went over this again last week as well. Just nothing's really changed for me. Nothing's really changed, I think, for any of us. It's Seahawks kind of it's everything's been going their way during the playoffs. I know, obviously, Charbonnet's been out for the last game, and he's out for the rest of the season. But listen, one game, looking at the two rosters, defense, offense, options, coaching, I like the Seahawks to win this one by pretty easily in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're a much stronger team than the Pats overall, and they are an older team, right?
Yes.
So it's going to be an exciting game, though. I honestly could see the Patriots bringing it to overtime.
It could,
or
yeah,
even
happen.
It could go down to the
See
wire.
overtime.
It could go down to the wire. We don't know. The Pats could win this whole thing. Drake may could have a monster game.
They could, but I think it's just very unlikely. I think we're going to see Seattle by close to double digits or at least a touchdown victory.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Their defense for me is so good. And again, the Patriots kind of struggled against some weaker opponents throughout the playoffs, and they honestly kind of barely got their way by over some of those teams, especially in the last game.
Yeah, Denver.
Did them that you have to beat them by more than 3. You can't make it that close.
Yeah.
Also,
the weather, of course, is a factor. But again,
right. But even in the first half with clean conditions, they weren't playing that well. And also, Drake May just hasn't been that great during the playoffs.
Exactly, yeah.
For the Patriots, their defense has been the story, shutting other teams down. Drake May's completion percentage hasn't been that great.
Yeah.
He struggled against the Chargers for most of that game. And so we're just going to have to see more out of him if the Patriots are going to actually win this thing.
Yeah.
The defense is fine. It's just the Patriots, a wide receiver has to step up for them, whether that's Kayshon Boutte or Stephon Diggs. Someone has to step up and be that true number one. Otherwise, they won't win.
100%, yeah. I mean, again, especially against that defense, the Seattle Seahawks defense has been so good all playoffs along. And their offense, I mean, JSN's been absolutely electric. It's just, even with the loss of Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker looked really good last game out as well. So it just, I don't know. I just don't see a world where the Patriots win this one. It could happen. Again, it's only one game. Anything happen in one game. But I don't see a world where the Patriots.
Well, that's the whole thing. We're not talking about a 7-game series here.
That's the thing, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They could come down to it. It could be like a fluke game or something. Yeah. Anyone can really win.
And that's the beauty
That's
of a Super Bowl as well, too. It's one game, Yeah. You gotta just roll out your guns and see what you got and see,
I know we've talked about this a bit before, but I always say, I feel like it should be a 7-game series because maybe not a 7-game series.
No.
Maybe a best of 3.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Even then, everyone's going to have CT by the end of the season. It's
I know,
it's
but that's the
unsustainable.
issue, right?
I get where you're coming from, that sometimes you can just have one bad game.
Think about the amount of times that
no
a team, in NHL, NBA, or MLB, where the worst team, the team that got, beaten in the series by a mile, they won the first game, right? There are times where it happens.
That's true, but also I think that it's harder to pull off an upset in football than it is in hockey. Obviously, hockey, it's pretty unpredictable. The puck bounces everywhere.
Yeah.
It's actually proven
penalties.
That
there's a lot more mistakes.
Hockey's more unpredictable. Football, it's harder to pull off an upset. There's more things that have to go wrong. So I do get where you're coming from, that, you can absolutely have one bad game, but I just don't think there's really an alternative.
Yeah, I see. That's the thing. You can't think these guys say, let's do a 7-game series. It's impossible. They're all
the only thing you can maybe do is a 3-game series for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because it's all afterwards. There's only 2 teams left. But the problem is, it wouldn't be as good for marketing for the league. So I don't think they do it because they
Yeah.
want that big
That one big game,
that big
right, yeah.
halftime show, the big event.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I agree. Honestly, from that point of view, it's a good point, but I mean, we'll have to see, right? We don't know what's gonna happen. Like, it could go the Pats' way. Like, that's the whole thing. It's unpredictable.
You don't know,
Eh,
man.
one game that I mean, obviously everyone's saying Seahawks, right? They're the favorites, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of money is gonna be on the Pats.
Oh, yeah. It's-
Definitely more money on the Pats money line than Seahawks, I think.
for the payout purposes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I
I,
see
I
that for
think
sure.
people are
Just-
betting the spread for the Seahawks as a money
The
line.
spread, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
but-
going to pay you much.
Yeah, right. But for money line, I think the Seahawks probably won't have as much, like, people won't have as much money on the Seahawks just because, like, they are, the favorites, right?
pretty
And so
heavily favored too,
you're
yeah.
not making money off of that,
Right.
right? Unless you're parlaying it with like some touchdown scores or something, right? It's
No,
not
that
like
makes sense, yeah.
I don't know. That's just my opinion. But you guys are the NFL guys, not me. So I listen to you guys. But yeah, I'm excited for the big game. Sunday night, everyone's going to be ready. Everyone's going to be watching. Like, I honestly think that this year I was so surprised with the two teams that made it because we thought again, Chiefs, the Ravens maybe.
Everyone thinks the same old,
Right?
but
Yeah.
luckily this is in parity, which
Yeah,
again, no one's.
right.
I don't think there's a lot of fans apart from obviously maybe the Chiefs fans. If there's quite a lot of Chiefs fans nowadays, but like.
They put the Patriots jersey back on.
Exactly, yeah. So generally seeing more parity for non-Chiefs fans and non-Patriots fans is good. It's good to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bandwagons out there.
course. There's a lot,
NFL, I think it's a bit more common, the bandwagon, than in the NHL.
Just
Yeah.
because of all the dynasties that have happened.
Yeah,
with
right.
The
Yeah.
Patriots or even the
Right.
Chiefs.
Yeah.
It's common.
Well, I hope that honestly, I hope that the Seahawks win because they deserve one after what happened in 2017, right? That was 2017. 2014.
The Marshawn Lynch you're referring to, that one?
yeah.
When they lost to the Pats in the Super
Yeah.
Bowl.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's 2014. Yeah. That'd be a crazy story. Some revenge. Imagine they get a
Yeah.
last-minute rushing touchdown to win the game.
I think
that
it
would
could
be
happen.
crazy.
That
That
if
could
they're on
happen.
the
It could
1 yard
happen.
line, they need a touchdown. They're handing it to Kenneth Walker. I
They're-
think
they're-
that
the-
fan
the
base
story-
is just traumatized
The
from that.
storylines are there for it to happen.
Hey man,
Who
they
knows?
deserve the ring. They deserve the
deserve-
ring.
Especially
they
Sam
need
Darnold.
I'm not saying that the Pats don't. Like, they have a great team, and I think
Yeah.
they will win eventually. Especially, like, they have a pretty young team, right,
Yeah.
Christian?
Very young.
They're gonna be back.
I
right?
think
They're
I
gonna
think
be
they'll
back.
win probably one Super Bowl with Drake May. I don't think it's going to be this year. I think just Sam Darnold's ready. He's gone through a lot of adversity. Got
Yeah.
cut by the Jets. Was a backup to Brock Purdy and the 49ers when they went to the Super Bowl. He came to Minnesota. He finally got the starting job. He played incredible until that one
Yeah.
bad playoff game. Got another chance with the Seahawks, and he's been amazing. So I
Making most of
think
it so far, yeah. 100%.
he'd be
Yeah.
really deserving.
Yeah, I agree. All right, boys. Well, that's gonna do it for a Super Bowl segment. Just a Super Bowl segment today,
Yeah.
NFL. We don't have much for the MLB, so I don't know. There's no news, right?
Nothing
Spring training
really,
coming
nothing
up in a
really.
month. We'll talk about it then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing really coming up.
I hope the
Nothing
Mets
really
lose. I'm
important.
joking. I hope the Mets do
Yeah.
well. Let's move on to the NBA. A lot of stuff.
That's,
A lot of
that's
trades.
the main event pretty
Oh,
much
yeah.
of the day, I like
Oh,
to
yeah.
say. There's been
All right,
a lot of
George.
things going on.
What do you
lot of
think?
things going
What,
on.
what do you think about some of the moves that were made? Some of the moves that weren't made.
Yeah.
More importantly, as well.
I mean, listen, there's a lot of stuff that was done, but for me, the story of this draft is random. I don't think a lot of these moves, not a lot of people saw coming. A lot of people obviously expected your Giannis trade, your John Morant trades, and the only big names that happened were guys not of that caliber, and they were to teams that are selling and are in
Or
a,
should be selling.
that
but
should be
they
selling.
wanna
And they should be
contend.
selling. Sorry, thank you for correcting me on that one. They should be selling. They're in a low position, and they're the ones acquiring the big names, and it was the big teams acquiring the small names. So it was a very, very weird
Yeah.
situation for me. Obviously, you have Jaren Jackson Jr. to Utah. You have Anthony
Yeah.
Davis to the Wizards. Zubac earlier
What are the
today
Wizards
to the
doing,
Clippers.
man?
Sorry,
Like,
to the Pacers.
I don't
I don't
get
know.
it. I don't get what they're doing,
pushing really hard for that play-in.
I have.
Oh
no
yeah,
idea
the
what's
play.
They're pushing really hard. You know what? Let's just give up so much assets. You know what? Don't be with us. If you weren't with us when we were the 13th seed, don't be with us when we sneak into the play-in.
I don't understand
Dude,
a lot of it.
They're gonna get if they make it to the play-in and they play like I don't know who even is in the play-in. I'm not sure. man.
Potentially the Raptors.
Potentially.
I think the Raptors take the Wizards. Honestly,
course.
Yeah, yeah,
easy.
of course.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Like I'm so glad that the Raps didn't trade for Anthony Davis. I was like thinking
Yeah.
when I
He's
saw
too
the
injury
AD
prone.
trade, I was like, I hope please no Raptors. And then it was the Wizards. I'm like the Wizards.
Yeah.
Why did they trade? Why did they want AD? Now I know, and maybe next year when AD is back from injury,
And Trae Young as well,
and
too.
Trae Young, and then
I
they
get
go.
the argument, but they're not ready yet.
There's
There's
still,
no way. Even
I
with
still
them, they're
don't see
far
that team
away.
as a contender.
Exactly.
But let's
yeah.
be honest with ourselves. These guys are coming back from injury. We damn well know that they're going to be injured again.
Oh yeah,
We know that.
Especially
AD especially.
Anthony Davis. He's just
Yeah, he's
that's
so
been the story of
injury
his
prone.
career.
He played how many games in Dallas? Like maybe like
Like 31, they said.
31 or something.
Hardly.
He barely like. Come on, man.
And they traded for Luka Doncic, and now they got Marvin Bagley. Chris
Don't
Middleton,
bring that up.
Yeah,
Don't bring that up.
that was
That's
ridiculous.
traumatizing. Luka Doncic. Come on.
Nico Harrison, and the Dallas
Oh my
Mavericks are the
gosh.
biggest idiots in all of sports.
Yeah. That's.
I don't want
there
to
you
shoot
go.
or pass
He
or
said
not.
it.
That's just a fact. It's not
No,
even
that's
hot
a
take
fact.
anymore. It's
We
a
don't
fact
even need to
now.
discuss it. We
It's
know.
a fact.
Harrison
That
was
is just
back.
crazy. In one
We've
year, they
talked about
traded
it
Luka
before.
Doncic, and they lost both AD.
I'm
and they got back
gonna be
for
honest
nothing.
though. They got a good return on AD.
Considering,
for what
yes,
they
they
got,
did. I
they
agree
got a
with that.
very good return. What they got, like, I mean, they gave up D'Lo, but and they gave like Jaden Hardy, which is not like bad, but they were able to get like a somewhat good return.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't flip those guys into more picks and assets because
They should've.
honestly, now I think that they should start to build around Cooper Flag.
Oh, yeah.
he's
They have
arguably
to.
he's arguably going to be the rookie of the year, right? He's been scoring 30 points. They've been some losses, some wins, but he's been consecutively playing really well.
Yeah.
And I just think that like if he's able to, have that strong supporting cast around him who is also young,
Yeah.
instead of a guy like Kyrie Irving who's like aging, he's pretty old now, and he hasn't been healthy a lot. So I don't know. I just think with the Mavs, I don't mind the direction they're going in now, but I think that they fully have to commit to Flag and him being the number one
Yeah.
guy, right?
They have to.
It's
Yeah.
just crazy to me. Like, okay, I do agree with you in seeing that the Davis trade, like, they did get, like, had a pretty good return considering the situation that they were in. But just to think of the past calendar year, from early February last year to early February this year, they started with Luka Doncic, and they ended up with all of that. It's a chain effect. You think, like, okay, like, this is terrible.
I mean,
You know what I
let's
mean?
let's be
Like-
honest though. Like I saw I was looking through Instagram, looking at the trade reactions of Twitter, stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I saw someone put a trade together, and they were like, "Well, this is what the Mavs got. This is what they gave up this,
Yeah.
and they got this."
Yeah.
And honestly, it wasn't a terrible like. It's
Well,
not
that's only because they got lucky and they got Cooper
exactly.
Flag.
They
Yeah.
no, not Flag. Like they gave up
Players
like,
in the picks, yeah, I saw that too.
like the
Yeah.
trade for Luca, like they lost Luca and what they have now from
Yeah.
Luca, and it's quite a bit. I know
Which
it's
would
not.
be how much?
It is. It
That's
is.
the only thing.
But it's better than
And in
what they got. It's
hindsight-
better than the 80 and Max Christie. They got a lot more now with all the picks.
It's still,
I don't-
I,
it's
I
still,
don't
like,
think
really, really
it'll be
bad.
anything close to what.
no,
Luka
I
Doncic-
agree. I agree 100%. I agree. And-
Especially given, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Especially given that one of those first round picks for this year is the Thunder pick, and that's going to be obviously
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
pick
yeah.
30 or 29.
oh
So
yeah,
Yeah.
29.
30.
Who knows? Who knows? Probably 30.
30?
Probably 30.
30.
Depends on how long the guys are the players are still out for, and if they lose more games.
Does
but
it
they
does
should
it
be-
go
they
off
should be
of
30.
championship?
No, it's
whoever-
regular
It's
season.
standings.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So
Hey man, the Pistons
It'll be a
might.
borderline
good.
second round pick
They're-
anyway.
It's close now. You guys have 3 games. You guys have played 3 more games, so they have 3 games in hand. But it's getting closer now in the NBA between the 2 top
Yeah.
seeds.
Either way, that first round pick is not going to be worth anything.
It's,
No,
it's
no,
going to
no,
be
no,
29 or
no.
30.
In hindsight, the
realistically.
value is just nowhere near what it should be for Luka
Obviously,
Doncic.
the
agree.
All Star break's coming up. That gives Shea a bit more time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, honestly though, like I still see OKC as the number 1 team to beat, right? They
Yeah, 100%.
lose a couple games here and there. They have some injuries. They're gonna make the playoffs, even if they aren't. Even, like, let's say they're not the 1st seed. Let's say they're the 2nd seed, and which I highly doubt happens. They're still a team to beat, right?
Of
We
course.
all know that. And they made a trade as well this
Yeah.
past week. They
Yeah.
traded for Jared McCain.
Yeah.
That is I really like that move.
I love that trade.
They're using their assets and they're getting another young guy to. He's gonna come off the bench most likely, but
Oh yeah.
that's a guy who
or
can
even
score.
to the G League for a bit. They can do.
I wouldn't put him in the G League.
I wouldn't
it's too
either.
good.
But
For
they have
conditioning.
a lot of
Yeah.
options, and for what they have so many assets. Why not just give up that late first? Why not
Yeah.
just give up those few seconds? He's a great player. He was playing
Yeah.
awesome until he got injured his rookie year.
Yeah.
He was arguably in the running for Rookie of the Year.
He was,
And
yeah.
I think Philadelphia, they just gave up on him too early. So
I
Yeah,
agree. I agree
100%,
100%.
yeah.
I'm really
100%.
happy with the trade.
Oh, I would be too. I would be very excited if I was a OKC fan
That's
right
really
now
good.
because Jared McCann, he is like a good, like talented player. He knows how to shoot. He can drive. He's a 3-level scorer. I don't know how his defense is, but like you guys have defense. It's not like you need.
Yeah.
And if he's like a committed, strong player, if he plays on the ball, and I think he's a really good addition for you guys.
I like it a lot. I really
Yeah.
do. Again, Sam Presti, the guy knows what he's doing. He
Right.
traded again, kind of I want to say non-valuable assets because again, picks are important at the end of the day. But it's a later first-round pick. It's a bunch of second-round picks, and they got another young piece to the already young core,
Yes.
all on rookie scale contracts, team-friendly contracts. What's there not to like about it? I think it's great. I really like
Dynasty,
the move a
man.
lot.
OKC's gonna be
Very, very
they
smart
should,
move.
They should be a
logical move,
dynasty.
and I like it a lot.
They should win at least 2 more championships, I think, by the time.
And they're so young, too, it's crazy.
In the Shea era, I think we're looking at least 1 or 2 more. But I also think that right now we're seeing injuries. Now probably won't go on for that much longer. Hopefully not. But if like we're gonna have to see because I feel like that the one thing is San Antonio is gonna be the biggest challenge for you guys and Detroit too.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
San Antonio, Detroit, and I don't know who else. maybe.
Denver, if Jokic is healthy, Denver, because
Yeah.
he did give us
Yeah.
a challenge last year, but there's only one team I think that can beat OKC, and that's San Antonio, because they've beaten
Yeah.
them throughout the year. Not that the season series determines the playoffs. We've seen so many times the season series winner will not win in the playoffs, but just because of that threat, having Wembanyama, it's very hard to
yeah.
guard him in the
Oh, yeah.
paint. We saw that in the NBA Cup game, so that's pretty concerning, but
Yeah.
in a 7-game series, I think the Thunder should win that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I thought that OKC should have stockpiled some picks and maybe a couple prospects or like some younger guys and traded for Giannis.
I agree. That cancels out
Exactly
Wembanyama.
right. It can't. I mean, I don't want to say it cancels him out because we don't know what Wembanyama looks in his prime.
Right.
And Giannis is obviously kind of moving out of his prime right now. He's still a top 5
At,
player
le-
in the
at,
league.
le- at
top
least
3
for
player
now,
in the
you have
league right now,
a guy
Giannis.
with size to match him in the paint.
Exactly
Oh, yeah.
right.
You're not getting
I
bullied.
thought that they should have done that, and I thought that would have been the best move that they could do in order to secure the. But would it work with the cap?
It'd be difficult, but I think they can make it work.
For the time being, it probably
they definitely
would.
have the assets. Assets are not a problem.
And again, bird rights with almost all their players because they've all been drafted with the team, so they'll make it work for sure. They can make it
can
work.
make it
but
work.
Luxury tax stuff like that could be a bit of a challenge on the road, but in the short term it'll work. Yeah. Can see
Yeah,
that.
I honestly thought that should have been the trade in my opinion, but
They would have 100% been the winners easily for the deadline. Like they would have been like,
Yeah.
oh my god, like that's great.
well, they still won. Like they still got
still-
Jared
they-
McCain.
they-
a
they-
good-
I wouldn't
They
say
still
they
had-
won
still
the
had a
whole
good-
deadline, but
Yeah.
I'm just overall surprised that Giannis didn't get traded. I'm surprised, like,
Yeah.
there just hasn't come a point where he's, like, demanded, like, okay, please trade me. This team's not
Yeah.
going anywhere. And we see these trade rumors circulating every year,
Yeah.
and yet he never gets traded. I was pretty confident that Golden State would make an offer, and then yesterday, oh, we're not pursuing him anymore, so...
Yeah.
I don't understand what's happening. Like, does he want to continue to lose in Milwaukee? What does he want at this point in his career?
I don't know.
Does he want to be a one and done NBA championship winner? Because
Well, I mean, to be fair, he did win a championship, like,
right, but
which is the
what's
epitome
left for
of
his
it.
career if he
I
stays in
mean,
Milwaukee?
That's the thing,
He has to
Not
move
much,
on.
and he's his contract. I think I was looking at it earlier today. His contract expires. He's gonna be 33. So he will. I'm sure he'll still get a decent another contract because Giannis is gonna be a good player until he's 37.
Late
he's still gonna be a
30s,
valuable player,
course.
right?
Yeah.
30. We don't know. Like he's 31 now. I think 30, 31.
Yeah.
This guy could be a good player till he's 40. He could have the longevity of LeBron. We don't know because his work ethic is so good and so hard. His conditioning is good too. I mean, he gets injured sometimes, but still, like, I would like to see if he, is able to maybe go to another team and start a new dynasty, or if the Bucks can rebuild around him, would be really interesting. I highly doubt it, but maybe they'll do that. I'm not sure.
Probably maybe in the who knows as well in the offseason as well because I know a lot of the main pursuers like the Heat and the T-Wolves and the Knicks, they have more draft capital eligible to trade in the offseason as opposed to now. So that's maybe another possibility. But who knows? Like, it's just a really rigged situation, and we just got to figure out, I guess, where he wants to go and what's the best offer. And I guess they couldn't figure out the positives in both sides, and they just couldn't make it work, I guess, for now. But
Yeah.
I mean, again, I guess the Bucks will wait. I mean, I don't think they're in
Yeah.
a rush to trade him. They
No.
know they're going to get a lot from him anyway, regardless of when they trade him. It's a matter of to who and when it happens, really, right?
Let's move on to another big trade in the NBA. Let's talk about this last one, then we'll move on to the NHL. So, what do you guys think about the Cleveland trade?
I
The
don't
Cleveland for
I think it
Harden?
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, for the Clippers, I think it does because obviously they're not that great. Obviously, Kawhi stepped up; they've started winning games, but I still, especially like realistically, all these teams that are at the bottom, they want to compete. You're not going to go through Denver. You're not going to go through San Antonio. You're not going to go through OKC. So there's no point in loading up. So I think it was good for them to get a younger player to get that second. For Cleveland, I don't really understand it. I think Darius Garland, he had his ups and downs, but he was a pretty good player. So I don't think it justifies to give him up.
Honestly,
And the second as well.
I honestly don't like the trade for Cleveland because how old is Harden? 35?
35,
Yeah.
36.
Yeah, like come on, you're gonna get a couple more good years out of them, maybe a couple of good years if you're lucky. And honestly, the Clippers got a good return for him,
Oh,
but I'm surprised they didn't flip that. And it's just to me, it makes no sense. Like these teams who aren't doing well, like even the Bucks, Clippers, the Pacers, they traded for Zubac. Why are you trading for
yeah.
Zubac or Zubac?
And giving up assets. Like,
Yeah,
you're
it
at the
makes no
bottom
sense.
of the league. You're
Jazz
giving
too.
up valuable
Like,
draft
why are you
capital.
why are you trading for Jaren Jackson Jr. now? It makes no sense. So I don't understand. Why are you trading for these guys, giving up assets like picks and young players for what? Like to compete? You're not competing.
No.
You're not going to compete this year.
I agree.
So if you're not flipping these guys for more assets from other teams, then what are you doing? Are you going to go and
I don't know.
It makes no sense. The theme this year from the deadline, it just makes no sense. It's all
random,
It's
yeah.
all these teams that are at the bottom. They're trying to compete. It's just not going to work because we have
Yeah.
a few powerhouses in the league this year. I think realistically, it's either Detroit, New York, maybe Boston if Tatum's healthy.
Yeah.
The Spurs, the Thunder, the Nuggets. I don't really see anyone else breaking into that.
Oh, yeah.
maybe
no
the
chance.
T-Wolves? We could see maybe
Even
the
they're
T-Wolves.
good, but they're not going to beat OKC.
I thought
they're
they
not gonna beat San
again. They
Antonio.
were one of the teams that were in the talkings with Giannis, and
Yeah.
it never worked out. But I just think they don't have the assets to trade for a guy like
No.
Giannis. But anyways, who's your guys' winner? One winner, if you were to give it to someone. Honestly, if I were to give it, I'd probably give it to a team that didn't even make a trade because all the teams that made trades didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe OKC.
The winner for me, I'll say, is the Celtics. For me, they needed a big, and they got a big. That's the only really thing. Because
Yep.
that was the only, I think, team that is a good team that made a move that benefits them right now. That
Yeah.
and the T-Wolves for me because they got Ayo Dosunmu, and I think it's very, very good this year. Other than that, like again, all the big trades this year were all from the bottom feeder teams,
Mm-hmm.
and again, they have this mindset where they got this big star player now, and then they're already bad. They're gonna continue to be bad. Get a good pick, and then like flip the script kind of next season.
Doesn't make sense.
It's not that easy. You know what I mean? Like it's really not that easy. It could happen. A lot of these poor teams do have good players. Like the Pacers won, of course, next year. Halliburton comes back. If Siakam, Zubac, so if they're guys from they were the finals
that's
last
a
year.
good team.
That's okay. That one I'm not.
I think.
I'm okay with.
That makes sense.
That one I'm not
But-
fully against.
but if
the other ones are a
I
bit
still
iffy
don't
with
like
me.
the trade.
if they're the
They give up
15th,
two
they're,
firsts.
right now
they
they're
give
the.
up Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah,
They give
that's
up some
that's a
valuable
big
That's
pieces.
a good
loss.
point too. Yeah.
That's a big. The Clippers got a good return for Zubac, but why were they trading Zubac? Like, and you
Because they're
trade
not
for
contenders.
right, but then why did you trade for Darius Garland?
Well, he's younger than Harden, so
That was a good trade.
Then why do you still have Kawhi? It doesn't make sense.
It's a weird.
I
situation,
don't get
yeah.
that, but I was actually going to say that the Clippers were my winner. I get what you're saying. They haven't traded Kawhi yet, but it's a step in the right direction
Right.
to swap Harden for a younger player.
Yeah.
Potentially the Kawhi trade comes, and then they flip Zubac.
Yeah.
They get those
Yeah.
picks.
Yeah.
It's not
And
a
Mathurin,
complete
too.
rebuild, but it's a step in the right direction.
You know whom? Yeah, go ahead.
And no one's been particularly impressive, so I
Yeah.
just have to label them the winner.
You know who my winner is? And you guys say, oh, yeah, you're crazy. I think Dallas won the trade deadline. The fact that they got that much return on those guys that they traded was so surprising to me. Like for me, I think AD is a negative asset. I wouldn't want him on my team.
A negative asset?
Yeah, would you want AD on your team? Think about how
I
much
mean,
he's
if the
injured, how
price-
many
When he's
games he
hel-
plays.
Like a negative
he's healthy,
asset, as
yeah,
in
but
like
if
you
he's not
wouldn't
healthy.
even trade a second-round pick for him.
No, well, okay, sorry, not that, but like I would maybe AD is worth like 2 firsts and like one like decent player. He's not worth a lot.
I wouldn't give up 2 firsts for him.
See, even that is a lot, right?
Give me a first.
Why do you want him on your team? He's injury prone,
thing, injury,
and then when he's
injuries,
playing,
yeah.
he what does he average? Like 22 and 10 or something, 24 and 10.
He's still
Good
better than
numbers, he
most
just-
players when
he
healthy.
just-
Yeah.
Injury prone,
but
that's the only thing.
I
His
get what
defense-
you're
his
saying.
defensive
but
game is great, but it's just personally, I wouldn't give up that much for him. And the fact that the Mavs got that much in return is so surprising to me. To me, the Wizards, that trade was like such a big like why?
I agree.
Why AD? You have a young team that you're building around, a good core, and then you bring guys like AD and Trae Young, who I mean, okay, AD's a champion, yeah, but Trae Young hasn't really he's shown a lot.
The
in the
Wizards one
playoffs.
really. So that I really don't understand.
But I just don't
Trying to
get
do
what the
there.
Wizards are doing.
They're
Like,
not
why are
good
you
enough
trying to
regardless.
compete
With them or
now?
without them, they're
Yeah.
not good enough.
Even next year, if they're healthy, what's the point?
Davis doesn't fit their timeline, plain and simple.
Exactly. How old is he now? 32, 33?
Yeah,
I think
he's
at least,
He's in
right?
his mid-30s, somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
yeah. It's like, man, his
Yeah,
prime is
that-
past.
The Wizards, I really don't understand that one. at all.
It
That's
doesn't make
the
sense.
case to me.
A Trae Young, okay, maybe he's like 26, right? Maybe he can be like that guy to like bring them up into
He
the.
could, yeah. And to be
bring-
fair, they barely paid anything to get him anyway. It was McCollum and Kisper, like, sure,
Yeah,
no
that's-
problem.
that's
No,
not-
that was a good trade.
That was
Yeah,
low
I
risk,
agree.
high
I agree.
reward,
The Davis
so that's
trade was
okay. The
not
Davis
good.
trade
No,
was dark.
I agree.
don't
That
know
is that
about
was not a smart trade at all. But yeah, I don't know. Losers, maybe the Wizards. Honestly, for me, like that just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't add up. It doesn't. Like, come on, man. You're trading all that for AD.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, I'm going the hometown Raptors. I feel like they needed to address some bigger things, and all they really did was get Chris Paul, who's never going to play a game for us, and they got Trace Jackson Davis, who's
Yeah.
a third rotational center for the Warriors. I think they should have done a little bit more. I don't think they should have got Davis or Sabonis. I don't think that much money on the thing is worthy. It's worthy for that assets and giving up that kind of stuff for the situation they're in right now. But I think they could have done some other better things. Not like just I don't know. I'm disappointed in
Giannis?
in their.
Do you think they could have made a move? I don't
That's
think so.
hard.
No, I don't think they should have done Giannis, but like they should have done something. Like Dunsumu, I would have loved it if the Raptors got Ayo Dunsumu from the Bulls.
Yeah, but it's
But
just
they-
like
and
why?
they, like-
They have their starting five.
I know, but
Right,
like,
and then who's the
I-
point guard
I
off the
just feel
bench
like
is
it's something
Jamal
else
Shed,
small, you know?
and Jamal Shed is a good point guard off the
Schmaltz
bench.
pretty good. I like,
What
I like
Dosumu is a shooting guard, point
He was
guard.
a 2 and a 3, yeah.
Two and a-
He-
oh,
he's been doing good
okay.
this year. He's a good playmaker.
Is he a
as
shooting
well.
guard, small forward, or shooting guard, point guard?
Shooting guard, small forward, I believe.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, yeah, that wouldn't be bad then. Yeah,
But for me, the big one, for me, the biggest one is a better center.
I agree. Yeah,
That's the
I
only
agree
thing
with
for
that.
me.
And
I
they
feel
only
they
got
should have
Trae
done something a bit
Jackson.
better, yeah.
But
like,
maybe
pick up Gafford.
Zubac. They could have traded for Zubac, right?
That could have been probably would have cost a lot, but maybe like a Gafford or someone
Yeah,
just a bit
yeah.
better than Trace Jackson
I agree,
Davis because we
agree.
need a center the most out of anything.
I agree.
And Jakob Poeltl is not going to cut it. So
Yeah,
that's my
yeah,
reason for
yeah.
them.
I agree, 100%. But
I think
yeah,
The Wizards
Christian?
and the Jazz, they're both losers
Yeah,
because
the
they're
Jazz.
just trying to move in a direction they shouldn't. Plain and simple. You
Yeah.
can't move in that direction.
Yeah, I don't see what they're doing. I don't know.
The Jazz,
I don't understand.
I'll get into it later, but the Jazz, I can maybe see an argument for. The Wizards, I can't see an argument for at all. The Wizards, I have no idea how they're going to do it. Like they're
Yeah.
just not good enough at all. The Wizards at least have Keontae George and Market and some other good guys. So like maybe they like, I can see it a world, but a lot again.
The
a lot
problem
has to
is
go
they're
right. A
giving
lot has
up
to go
too
right.
much valuable assets. Like the Thunder already have your pick,
That's the only thing.
and you're not going to make the playoffs most likely. Then you're going to give up more assets. It's just, I don't get it.
That's the only thing. It's just
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, a lot of things didn't make sense this trade deadline, but that's okay. Doesn't always have to make sense, right? In the NBA, it's a crazy league, just like last year.
Oh, yeah.
With the Luka Doncic trade. Anyways, we're gonna move on to the NHL now. All right, Christian, some big news more today. Again, some Olympic news. Right, the rink is ready. Thank God, the rink is ready. Oh my God, oh my
Say a
God.
prayer.
It's small, but it's okay.
there.
It'll do. It'll do.
As long
Connor
as they
McDavid
can
skating
play.
through the neutral zone in 3 seconds.
the ice is not melted just yet.
Not yet. Hey, maybe when they're playing the gold medal game, maybe it'll start melting and they'll slip and fall.
The
Anyways.
stadium's intact, so we're good.
Oh yeah, we're good.
So
Okay.
as long as they can step on the ice, and it doesn't collapse, we're good.
Exactly.
That's all we need to win gold.
They're going to use that crane to go down onto the ice, boys.
Yeah.
You never know.
But one thing that would be a bigger disaster, it actually is a bigger disaster, is Connor Bedard got snubbed again.
Yes.
For two guys.
For two guys.
For two
Twice.
guys. To be fair, the first guy makes a bit more sense. Bennett.
I still
It
don't
was their
think it
last
makes
trip, yeah,
sense.
that's fine. But
Just because they
okay.
shouldn't have gone in that Sorelli penalty kill direction regardless. That's why they brought in Bennett, because he replaces a style of player that resembles Sorelli. But I don't think they should have gone that direction in the first place.
I agree.
no.
I agree. I like the acquisition of bringing up Sam Bennett again.
I'm okay with
But
that, yeah.
I can live with that, but Seth Jarvis over Bedard is like nonsensical to me.
You know,
personally.
honestly, for me, I like Jarvis more than Bennett. But either way, Bedard should be there. He should have been the one of the two guys.
Is Jarvis
It's not
a center?
It can't be that bad. He's a winger.
Is Jarvis a center?
He could center
Right
a
winger.
wing.
He could play center, but
he's
mostly
playing the
a
wing.
winger, yeah.
He's playing the wing. So you want Bedard. He's a center.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's
Exactly,
more
yeah.
points,
Or
better
even
producer,
Shifley
more
could be on the
talented.
team. I really don't like the pick of Sam Bennett. I don't like the
Even
pick of
Shifley,
Sorelli.
yeah. I forgot about Shifley.
I'd rather
too,
have
man.
Jarvis on the team than Sam Bennett. They should have put Jarvis and Bedard.
Jarvis,
That's what
yeah.
I would
Yeah, I like Jarvis a lot.
Jarvis
too.
is not a bad player. I like Jarvis. Don't get me wrong, but I really think that Bedard has to be on that team now.
Yeah, he should be there
And
regardless.
It just
matter
doesn't
who
make
else.
sense to me. It doesn't add up. And like even with the like we see it with like Tampa Bay, them picking their guys like Sorelli, like Point. Now Sorelli and Point are out, right? Now it's just Hagel, and I think he's the only player from Tampa, right, on the team.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like I don't even know if Hagel will be on the roster. I mean, I think he should.
He will.
Realistically, like he'll probably be fourth line, maybe Tom Wilson with him and Bennett. I think that's a strong fourth line.
Yes.
I'll be there for sure.
But I think Canada still has the best odds to win, obviously.
I hope so.
But yeah,
they will.
Olympic predictions. I really like Canada's chances.
Gold? You think they're going to get gold this year?
I think so.
I
mean,
think the USA is probably going to win gold.
you think so?
Yeah.
Who do you have for silver then? Canada and
Canada.
silver? And bronze?
I'm going to say Sweden,
Wow.
just because I like some of their star power more than Finland.
I do have the same three, and I actually had the same order as you. I think USA wins this time, just because.
Unfortunately.
I
Defense and
hate-
goaltending is going to win it for
I,
them.
I absolutely hate admitting this, and I hate saying this because like I don't want it to be true, but I feel like it is, and like my eyes saw it for myself. Binnington had one of his best games of his life in that Nations final, and I just don't like getting that performance again in a gold medal game against USA is like.
Yeah.
I hope and
probably
pray that
not
happens
happening.
again, but it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen every
Honestly,
day.
I think our forward core is still better than their
I 100% agree.
like a lot better than theirs.
100% I agree.
I wouldn't say a lot. I think we're top heavy, so the top six is definitely better.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
we
yeah.
arguably have the three best players on the ice.
But
yeah.
even the third line, like you're probably gonna have Suzuki
I will
on
think-
there.
I think our forward group's better than their forward group, but for me,
But I think
our
our
goaltending is better.
their D is better. But like, come on, man. Like
I like
okay.
some of their bottom wingers better, having Connor and Gensel. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
I think
That's
I
true.
might like
Yeah.
some of their wingers better at the bottom.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I don't know. The construction of Canada's team is very similar to last year.
Yeah.
Just like I think they added more brute with
Yeah.
with the addition of Wilson and Bennett back on the team.
Yeah.
And I honestly like that. I like that. You
No,
get
it's
some
good.
guys that
Take
can go
more
against the
physical
Kachuk
play, yeah.
brothers. That can go against the Kachuk.
Yeah.
It's just to me, some of the decisions that they made didn't make much sense. They didn't
That's
add
the
up to
other
me.
thing, too,
Like
yeah.
Caulfield and Robertson were left off for Trocheck and Miller.
Yeah, that was
That is no sense. I've said it before on the podcast. It makes zero sense to
It
me.
doesn't make no sense at all. I agree.
And I just like you look at Caulfield, his goal scoring ability, his clutch goal scoring ability, and you look at Robertson. This guy is like was what he has like 60 plus points
Robertson
this
is so
season,
good. He's so
and he's
As well as 30-plus goal scorer.
arguably one of the best American players in the league right now.
I think he's their points leader. And
Yeah, and he's not even on
he
the
got
team.
left off.
Come on, and let's not forget a lot of the U.S. like we talked about their top. Like I feel like their top is so much weaker than Canada's. Like the disparity between their top and Canada's top is bigger than the
No, you're right.
difference between Canada's bottom and their bottom.
I agree.
the best
But
forward and
it's
best
also the
defenseman.
defense and goaltending
Yeah, yeah.
disparity.
Well, yeah,
That's what
but
gives
still we
us
still
the
have
edge.
Logan Thompson.
Look at him.
And how good is Hellebuck doing this year?
But not
this
that
team
good.
does
But
suck.
what I've said previously is that even if he doesn't play good, there's always Jake Ottinger, a world-class goalie.
Swayman's
and I
Very,
think there's
very
still a
true.
gap.
Very true.
Swayman's
Ve-
back, bounced back a
I
lot this
honestly
year, too.
think if they go with the opposite route with either Swayman or Andre, I think they're going Swayman. Because
Really?
I think because he's a bit is he old? He's older, right, than Andre?
I
I think
no.
they're close.
I
in-
think
They're
they're
close
around
in
the
age?
same
I
age.
don't
They're
know.
both
I think
26,
Okay, maybe
25, I think.
Ottinger's rookie year was a year before him, but I think
Something
they're
like
around
that,
the
yeah.
Because
same
they're
the
age.
both
US
same age,
they don't value maybe not they don't value experience as much, I guess, right? So
a
maybe
weird one, man. It's a
maybe
weird
they
one
go
with
with a guy like Ottinger. You never know,
Who
but
knows? I hope Canada wins. We definitely can win again. I just feel like that goaltending performance for me just stands out so much because it was so good. And with Logan Thompson, I know he's been very, very good this year. I know he's better than Bennington right now, but in a big clutch gold medal game, I don't know with him. I have no idea.
Yeah,
So I just
yeah.
I don't know.
so my gold, silver, and bronze. I'm going with Canada, U.S., Sweden.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
I think those three are pretty obvious to beat in
Yeah,
the medal conversation.
yeah. I mean,
anyway.
you never know. The Czech Republic could make it to that top 3.
They could.
I honestly would not be surprised if they did. I would be more surprised if Finland did. I would take Czechs over Finland, if I'm going to be
the
honest.
Finland
Yeah.
injuries are just so unfortunate too. No Barkov as well the whole
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
That's
That's
just
a big.
unfortunate.
That's what I'm saying. Big loss, right? And we'll have to see though. Like, well, we can't predict anything, but we can hope that Canada wins over the U.S.
course.
So please
Yeah.
don't let the
Yeah.
U.S. win anything but. All right. Well, big trade as well yesterday in
Yes.
the NHL. It's Panarin, George.
The Rangers are very stupid, and Chris Drury is has to be one of the worst GMs in the NHL right now. I'm sorry. Okay, to be fair, his hands were tied behind his back a little bit because again, no move clause. He wants to go where he wants to go, but like a third-round pick and one prospect for Artemi Panarin is ridiculous. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
I'm gonna agree with you that Chris Drury is a bad GM, but not for the reason you mentioned. I don't think this is his fault really, because what came out is that Panarin was actually offered $14 million yearly and a longer term in Seattle, and he rejected. So that shows that his hands were really tied.
To be fair,
He
who would
couldn't
want to
do-
go to Seattle? Let's be honest. They're like
I understand,
they're-
but he didn't have many options.
they're rebuilding and like they're not even that good of a team right now. So it's
But
kind of
I
tough.
think it's a brilliant move for the Kings because they only had to give up. They had so much leverage in that trade. They had to give up Green Tree, which he was a former first-round pick.
Green Tree is
a late
actually
one, but
isn't he
yeah.
good like a young
But he
good
has probably the
prospect?
value of his second-round pick now.
Right,
Still
okay.
in junior,
Okay.
a third and a fourth. So not having to give up a future first-round pick, I think it's really justified for the Kings.
Yeah.
They've had those role players they needed, that star
No,
player,
yeah,
and they
Good-
filled the
good-
need.
Good trade for them. Yeah, they
Yeah.
saw the opportunity and they went and they took it. Right.
I don't like it for New York, honestly.
Yeah,
like
it's terrible.
they didn't get as much as they could get for him, and like the contract is okay, 2 years, 11
I
mil.
like it.
No.
It's not bad at
Low risk.
all. But like realistically, LA's not going to do much in the playoffs. Like they're not going to make it too far. I don't think they
Probably not.
They're not beating any of the Central teams. I mean, they could maybe beat Edmonton. Like we always see how that goes, but
Yeah.
they might not even make it top 3 in the Pacific, right?
Right now
We
they're
don't
outside the
know.
playoffs as we speak. So who knows?
They're out of the playoffs.
As of right now, they're outside of it
Oh
a
my
little
God.
bit.
They're
So
outside, but I think Panarin
barely, but
pushes
they're
them in.
outside. But yeah.
Yeah. Is he injured
Yeah.
right now? Is he still injured or no?
He's not going to debut tonight. It'll be after the.
Yeah, it'll be after
right,
the break,
okay,
yeah.
that
It's
makes
smart.
sense.
Let him rest it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Let him get familiar with the area. It's smart, but
I don't like it for the Rangers, man. For the LA, it makes it makes sense, right? Because they're a contending team, right? They have older players like Doughty, like Kopitar, and Kemper. They want to compete one more
yeah.
time. It makes sense, but for New York, it's just
Kopitar-
they were
Kopitar-
handcuffed
Kopitar's
though,
last year as
like
well.
Kirsch
Toronto
said.
Kopitar, so yeah.
But
I
they
see it.
could have. I think they could have gotten at least another first round
Oh,
pick
they
out
got
of
a first
that
minute. Of
easily.
course, they could have got a first round pick out of it.
Like why? Like why didn't they? They got Green Tree in a first, right? That was it.
They,
No
they,
le- no
didn't, they,
leverage.
they had no leverage though.
Leverage.
How can you
Yeah.
expect?
It's hard.
It's
because
either
it's
you
hard,
give
yeah.
him something or he just stays. And
Yeah.
They get
And
nothing.
lose it for nothing. Yeah, it was
It
no
wasn't
leverage.
for nothing
yeah.
because he wouldn't resign there.
Yeah.
True,
yeah.
true.
He said he only went to LA and nothing, and they had to make it work, right?
I don't know. It makes sense for him too, right? Like it does. You want the money, you want to be on a decent team. So
And to be fair, he had the right to pick where he wanted to go. No move
Yeah.
clause. He said, okay, well, I only want to go there, so trade me there and I'll go.
I wonder why LA. That's interesting.
I think it's because he can take on that role to be the star player. It's
Yeah.
a good team that has a lot of players that play as a team. They play their role, but they just need that one star to get that star power.
And he is that star.
And he is that guy. He's over a point per game player,
Yeah.
and he's probably the best player on their team.
Now he is, yeah.
100%.
Him, Kempe,
is very good.
Kempe, Byfield is pretty good, and they obviously still have Kopitar. But let's move on to one of our final segments, shooter pass.
Yeah.
All right. So, Christian, we're gonna do a bit of a longer shooter pass today, guys. That's why we kind of shortened the recap. Christian,
Yeah, I'll start
Get us
us
started.
off. I'm going to double down on a take I made previously, and you're probably going to disagree, but that's okay. I just think that even considering what happened with the Panarin trade, the Ducks are heating up, the Kraken are heating up, and those are younger teams that are just going to develop more. And I think the way the Oilers are playing is just way too unsustainable. They have the worst goaltending out of all the teams in the hunt. It's not sustainable that they have to make all these comebacks. Bouchard is not going to sustain the current rate he's at. They're asking McDavid in the top line to do too much. And with that being said, I think they're going to miss the playoffs this year.
He doubled down on that. He really
Is
doubled
that
down on
again,
that.
bro. Come on.
He doubled
man.
down on it again. That's crazy.
Honestly, it
And
makes
they've
more.
played a few more games.
It makes
No,
more.
no,
It
yeah,
makes
yeah.
more
Yeah.
sense now than it did before.
Oh, yeah, for sure,
But
yeah.
considering how bad the Pacific Division is
Yeah.
this year, I could still see them making
Oh,
it.
of
Yeah.
course.
I'm-
I'm not
I'm
ruling
on the same
them
thing
out.
as him.
I'm saying it's more of, I'm going to say like it's more like a 55 to 60%
Yeah.
that they
It's a
don't
higher
make it.
possibility now than it was when you first said it. Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's a higher possibility than most people anticipated. So that I'm just going to throw it out there, and I do actually think they're going to make it. I just don't think that the makeup of their team is going to help them be successful late in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I you know what? It makes more sense now for some reason. Like, you see how bad they're playing. Like earlier, they were playing bad, but you knew Edmonton normally has kind of like a
They
slow,
normally
like
come back,
a
but-
slow, maybe the first 20 games
Something
in.
just feels different.
But
this
now
year.
they're not doing it as
getting
well.
that contribution from the guys at the bottom of the lineup.
I don't want to shoot on it. I'm gonna pass, but actually, I see where you're coming from. Now I can kind of like see the vision a bit more because Jari hasn't been playing good, and like they are relying on McDavid way too much, and they haven't made any big trades. They didn't do anything before the Olympic roster freeze. You know, now they're gonna have to wait till after maybe they make a trade after the Olympics. We don't know what's gonna happen.
They probably will, but who knows? Right?
I don't know. If,
I think what they need to realize is that some of their defending is a problem, and it wasn't Skinner. It's not the goaltending. Virtually any goaltender you put behind that defense is not going to succeed.
yeah, but I mean, realistically, the only good defensemen on that team are like Ekholm and Bouchard is not.
And
Ballman.
Bouchard's not great defensively.
No, well, that's what I'm saying.
Offensively, he's one of
That's
the
what I'm
best
saying.
offensive defenders.
Bouchard is not good defensively. We know
Right.
that. Like I would say, like Ekholm and Wallman maybe, and Nurse is okay defensively.
Yeah.
He's
No,
not like
I'd say
great.
Ekholm is probably the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the most like shutdown guy, but
Yeah.
at the same time, they don't really have like a proper stay
It
home
sounds like-
shutdown guy. Right?
Yeah, exactly. They
They
don't.
need that guy.
The only
And
guy is
that's what they
Ekholm.
kind of need, and they're kind of calling for that for a while.
Exactly. That's the thing, man. Their roster construction relied so heavily. Like even back in 2016, 2017, when they were getting guys like Draisaitl and McDavid and bringing them up, they lost they relied so much on them on
Yeah.
that top heavy line that now, like what's going on with the rest of the guys?
It's,
right?
it's
We
not
don't know.
sustainable because so many of their wins come from late comeback wins. How many times are they going to pull the goalie, score 1 or 2 goals?
Yeah.
Bouchard's going to sustain this play. I don't think it's sustainable.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I think they still make the playoffs just because of how bad the Pacific is. Like they are.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna agree with them on that.
I
too.
could see that, but I don't know. I think there's teams that they're just good enough that Edmonton just misses out.
I want to
That's
agree
gonna
with
be my
I want to agree
prediction.
with Joe for now on that one, but I also want to wait till after the deadline to see if they do anything as well,
Right.
and then be like, okay, like they're in or they're out, right? But again, the division is not good this year, and I just don't see how they're not going to make it. I think they'll find a way eventually
Yeah.
to get in. So
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, George,
Okay.
what's your take?
my one's actually pretty interesting because
Okay.
because we kind of mentioned this earlier today, and you both were kind of against it, which makes my argument want to say a bit more. I don't know if you want to read it right there. You can see that right there. I think there's a chance that the Jazz can make the play-in at least next year,
Next year?
next season, with the addition of Jaren
Yeah,
Jackson Jr.
I think that's realistic.
Most
a
definitely.
play, or even if they get to the play and make the playoffs, they could, just because. First of all, this season they've been one of the highest scoring teams in the league. They're ranked right now in 6th place in the league in points per game. Obviously their defense has been terrible this year, but they added, of course, Jaren Jackson Jr., who's a former defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Very, very good defensive forward, right? They have Lauri Markkanen, who gives you 27 points a night. Keontae George's been fantastic. They've had Walker Kessler out the entire year, so wait till you get him back, and you have that crazy front court. Good young players. Isaiah Collier had a really good night the other night as well. Sensabaugh, I think, is a good young wing, same with Ace Bailey, and they have their pick this year. Probably going to be a top 5 or top 7-ish pick this year in the draft. A very good draft class this year. I think with all those pieces coming together, young pieces, and Keontae George, of course, had a good year, and they have good guys around him. Will Hardy, I think he's a pretty good coach. I can see them making a good push for at least a playing spot next year. If not, maybe in the playoffs next year.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ace Bailey's going to develop to a decent player probably next year.
Markin and Keontae George,
Yeah.
I think that four alone, you could definitely make a play in. But the reason, and this ties back to what we were discussing about their deadline moves, I don't think it makes sense, not because they can't make the playoffs. Of course, they can make a push for the playoffs, but when push comes to shove, you're not going to beat OKC. You're not going to beat the Spurs.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. They're
But,
nowhere
playoffs.
going to be near there.
They can
But I could definitely see
this
where
does
where
make
they
it
get in the playoffs,
interesting,
yeah.
though. It does make it really interesting because we know Jaren Jackson Jr. is a top-tier defender.
Oh, yeah.
Like defensive player of the year caliber.
Yes.
And
And that's what they need, too.
in a Western Conference, when you have a guy like Victor Wembanyama, that could really help. And he's young. I mean, how old is he now? 28, maybe 27?
26, 27, 28.
Yeah.
Around that age, yeah.
Like,
Been around
I'm
for a
not
while.
saying that, he's
The difference maker. No, I agree.
that they're
Yes,
going to be like
it's definitely
the NBA
beneficial, yeah.
champions.
Yeah.
But I think it gives them more of a chance to do more in the future, right?
Because they have a guy like- yeah.
because they have him, and to maybe one day they could beat a team like San Antonio because now they have JJJ, and that's
think
going to be
it's
such
hard.
a no. I agree, it's hard.
They can't build through the draft now.
Oh yeah, because they lost.
The Thunder have their
right
pick.
now they
tra-
just have to trade.
like,
No.
they have to make good trades.
This year
The
they have their
draft
pick.
isn't-
This year's pick's protected top 10, so they'll have their pick this year. And the prospect pool this year is pretty good. Next year, I don't think they have it next year. They traded that away, I'm pretty sure, for this deal. Or one of the favorable ones with this, and I think Cleveland, some other teams too. But it was only, I think, one pick that was their own. So, again, it's kind of banking on a quick turnaround kind of thing, kind of like the Pistons a couple of years ago. Detroit, obviously, they were really bad a couple of years ago. They had the 2-29 start, and then last year, season after that, the playoffs.
Yeah.
Out of nothing, right? So you don't know, and I do think that this addition fills what they need. And of course, the young players growing and developing, plus a new prospect coming in this year in the draft, Ace Bailey, Sensabaugh, Collier off the bench. I like it a lot. I really do.
Yeah, I really do too. Honestly,
I can
like,
really see a chance where they can get it.
I agree. I like the trade. I mean, no, sorry, I don't love the trade.
Yeah.
But it makes a bit of sense.
Yeah.
I just think the timing is a bit odd.
That's the only thing.
That's
The
the thing
timing,
for me. It's the timing, right?
sure.
And
It throws you off,
Maybe
yeah.
if it was in like another year or two, and the guys had developed it more, and they were contending, maybe making the
And
play
they were
and
slowly
whatnot.
getting. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. But yeah, I'm gonna move on to my shooter
Yeah, go for it.
pass. Okay, you guys are probably gonna disagree with this, and I totally understand that. But here's gonna be my take. All right.
Yeah.
I just came up with this now. Okay.
On the
So
fly.
we know in the Atlantic Division in the NHL how talented the teams are, right?
Yes.
You have Tampa, Detroit, Montreal, and Buffalo, who are the top 4 right now, I think,
And
and then
Boston's in the
Boston's
last
also
wild
up
card spot,
there,
yeah.
right? They're also in a wild card spot. Okay. Now, here's my take. I think that if Tampa wins the Atlantic
Yeah.
and ends up facing either Buffalo, Detroit, or Montreal, I think that they lose in that first round. Now, you could say I'm wrong, whatever, that's okay. But I think there's a lot, like, I don't know why, but Buffalo, man, they're so good. They're a tank this year. They've been playing good hockey. They've been having good goaltending. They've been on a good recent streak of the past little while. And I feel like we've seen it so many times with Tampa where we're like, yeah, we're so sure that Tampa's going to do so good this year. And then it turns out to be nothing. Then they lose in the first round. I feel like with Tampa, either they're going to go on a long playoff stretch or they're going to be done in the first round, 5-6 games or out. They don't perform.
I'm kind of buying
Right.
what you're selling here.
And I just feel like with Detroit, they're a young team. They have that veteran leadership. They have Kane.
got a lot
They
of
have
veteran
Sherrod.
guys.
They have
Cup winners,
they have
too.
Gibson now. They have Talbot, who's been playing good. And I don't know. I like what they're building. And Buffalo and even Montreal, they've made the playoffs before. They've made the finals before. Like you have Suzuki, Caulfield, who've made the finals. You have some experience on the back end. You have Mike Matheson. You have Noah Dobson, who's a young player. And I just feel like they have a lot more. Darren Radish, who's been one of the best defenders on Tampa this year.
In the league.
In the league. He's not
So
keeping
good
it
this
up.
year.
He's not
No.
going to sustain it. It's his contract year. He's not sustaining this pace, right? Even in the playoffs, he might not sustain it. I just don't think. And Hedman's going to come back eventually, right?
He's ready back, yeah.
Oh, he's back now. Okay,
he'll
he's back.
come back.
Okay. I don't know if he's going to be able to play at that same level as he used to.
First couple games, he's not been good at all. But
And I just think, like, with the speed that even a team like Montreal has and the goal scoring ability that they have, I think that they can beat them. I think any of those three teams can reasonably beat them. And I'm not saying that they will, but I think it's possible.
I think they can. I just don't see it. I think Tampa Bay has experience. They can come back from those. And I think I'm not going to look too much into their first round losses from the previous years. It was the Leafs who loaded up at the deadline. That was a good team.
The
and it
Blue
was just
Jackets.
Florida
the Blue Jackets.
who ended up winning the conference. Well, that was 2019.
that was a long time ago.
That was a long time
Same
ago.
core.
But still, in the 2020s,
coach.
without Stamkos, now Gensel and Hagelin, like more recent years, they lost to Florida twice, which ended up going to the final.
Florida's too good. That's a
I'm
different
not
story, yeah.
too, and they had some injuries as
Yeah.
well, but so I'm not too concerned about their losses in the first round as of recent years. I still think they're gonna win. Vasilevsky looks like he's
Yeah,
back.
he's playing
Goaltending's
really
huge
well.
in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
So good.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
saying they're for sure gonna win, but I'm pretty confident they get out of the Atlantic.
It makes sense, but also I just think like I really like the young cores now, and I don't know why, but I have a feeling that one of them is going to upset Tampa because Tampa has a good team, but I don't know if they have the speed to be able to match with those other teams. Like I don't know if they're going to be able to play at the same offensive rate. And yeah, you could say, oh well, it's the playoffs, it's not as offensively like minded hockey,
That's the thing.
but still, like we've seen teams in the past who have been like offensive juggernauts go on ahead and win the cup, like even
Tampa Bay, for example.
Yeah.
yeah, like literally Tampa Bay, and I just think with things that are so like common and in the NHL now is that teams are building like teams with speed, teams with but also with some grit, and I think that I know that Detroit, I feel like they have that grit on the back end too.
They have more grit than they have speed for sure.
Yeah. Even Montreal has good grit. Like they have good third, fourth line, some
They got more
nitty gritty
speed, but
players
they
who
got
can
a
do
bit of
that.
both. Buffalo's got a bit of both too, yeah.
And I think with the injuries that Montreal sustained this year, and with the goaltending not playing that good, I feel like they could be in a higher position in the Atlantic if they had better goaltending right now. Right now, they're third in the league in goals scored, and
Yeah.
they're only a plus 12. They're only a
Yeah.
plus 12. It's crazy that where they are where they are. I'm mixing up my words. It's crazy that they are where they are because, with the goaltending, Montembeault hasn't been playing as well. Dobish is doing okay now, but if they can get that ramping up, maybe if they trade for a goalie for someone who's maybe not, I don't know, like a Joey Decord could be a guy who's on Seattle. They're not contending it right now, so maybe they might trade him.
I think Seattle's going to make the playoffs.
They're in the playoffs right now. Yeah.
They're in the playoff
They're in a
spot.
playoff spot?
Yes.
I mean, again,
The Pacific is
Pacific just sucks, but
they suck so much.
it's not a
Even
good
Vegas
division.
is not even
Oh
that
my
good.
gosh.
I
This is
think
not-
Yeah, they have like less
it's
regulate.
open.
They have less wins than the worst team in the Atlantic.
They got more losses than wins, actually. If you
Yeah,
add
yeah.
overtime and
I think
regular
so
season,
does
they got
every
losses
team in
than
the
wins.
Pacific.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
The Pacific is a
That's a shame they're
joke.
in the bad-
It's
bad
such a
thing.
joke.
That's
man.
ridiculous.
But
They're a
to
joke.
go back to your point, I'm gonna pass on it.
Uh-huh.
But I see what you're saying because again, Tampa, it's been done before. Obviously, you always go back to that 1 year. 2019 was 7 years ago now, but I mean, it's happened before. This big
Right.
upsets can happen before. They at that time they broke the record for most points in regular season.
Yeah.
At that time, and they got to the first round. Like you just don't know. I just don't see it happening this year because it's the odds of that happening are very, very low. And that type of thing
I
was a once in
understand.
one in a
Yeah.
million kind of situation with the Tampa Columbus series all those years ago. But it can happen, yes, because upsets have happened before. Again, another example. Let's go back to 2021. You guys beat us that year. There was a large gap in. I don't know if you thought you guys were going to beat us, but a lot of people didn't think that the Habs had a chance in that series.
I mean,
and they did. You're right. They
at the
beat us.
beginning of the
You gotta
series,
see,
you
right?
always have belief, right?
Yeah, but on paper, you're looking at the thing. Okay,
No,
like they shouldn't have beat the Leafs that year, and they did. Right? Again, upsets happen. The Panthers beat the Bruins a couple
they had
years
Carey
ago.
Price. Not everyone has a Carey Price.
The Panthers also beat the Bruins that 1 year after they broke the record. You just don't know, right? Things
Yeah.
can happen in the playoffs, right? So I'm not gonna fully say, oh yeah, it's blasphemous. It can happen, 100%.
It can. I agree.
I'm just gonna pass because I just don't see it happening with this experience
Yeah.
of a team. But I wouldn't be surprised if it happens at all.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
pass as well. But if there is one team that's going to beat them from the Atlantic, I think it's going to be Buffalo if they get in. I just really
I can
like
kind of,
Buffalo's gonna be able to
I
see
can
it.
see Buffalo or Detroit.
I don't see Detroit.
Just because Detroit has more experienced guys and they're more veteran guys. But Buffalo, if Buffalo's an interesting one for me because no one thought they would be here and they haven't been here for so long. I think they're going to be so
Buffalo-
hungry and just find their way to win a series.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can see it happening because
You never know.
momentum. They finally
You
get in
never
the
know.
playoffs. Finally make that push and they finally get in.
Yeah.
They're like it's crazy.
We'll have to see.
Playing those playoff games in Buffalo too is not going to be easy for anyone. Any team.
No. I mean, maybe
Crazy.
Montreal.
Maybe
you know,
Montreal.
Maybe
I think we need to
Montreal.
travel.
If
Yeah.
they will invade that stadium.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, or the Leafs, but they're not making the playoffs, so
Yeah.
that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's okay, dude.
9 years in a row. It had to end at some point.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, so we're gonna do it a bit differently today, guys. We're gonna do another round of shooter pass. So Christian, let's go. Second time around.
Yeah.
What's your
I'll
take?
I'll make this pretty brief. I think Lamar Jackson having the fresh start with the new coaching hire, obviously he's going to be healthy this year. They're going to have to rely more on him, and I think that's when he brings his best game because Derrick Henry's only getting older. I think Lamar Jackson's going to win MVP again.
Oh, George.
It depends on how he flourishes under their new coach. Whatever coach it is, obviously, they haven't hired anyone yet, right?
No, they have.
They have? Who they hired?
Jesse Minter.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I want to see how it is under them and how they respond after missing the playoffs last year. He could. Right now, I don't know. I don't know whether to should pass it on right now. I'm going to pass it on for now because there's so many other options, but it's definitely a possibility. I think it can happen.
I'm gonna shoot. How old is he again?
He's 20. He's the same age as Allen, 29.
Yeah,
turning 30.
I can see it happening. I
I
mean,
think he's
definitely
going
happen,
to be
yeah.
so hungry.
I just don't know
He's gonna
just
want
yet.
that
I don't
want to
think
see
it's
I want to see what
guaranteed.
else they add to their team.
because I also think like Allen is still there. You know,
Yeah.
Drake may, maybe next year he could win.
No,
Good.
anyone could win, but I think
Like,
he's the favorite.
I just feel like the only
if I
guy
had
who's
to pick one guy, it's for sure him.
if there's one guy that I'm gonna rule out, it's gonna be Mahomes. Is he gonna be injured next year or no?
For a chunk of it, I think.
maybe
he
for-
got hurt in
for some
December,
of
I
it.
think. Yeah.
I just don't see him returning to that. Especially, it was an ACL injury, right? Or
Yeah.
Achilles?
Yes.
Something like that,
ACL. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to return from that because it's just so tough. We've seen it with the NBA players and so many players. It's so hard to return from those injuries. And especially on a Chiefs team now that's kind of winding back a bit, like slowing down. I don't see it happening, but that's what I'm saying. It's opened up more now. Allen, maybe Jackson, maybe May.
There's a lot of
Burrow.
options.
Burrow, I don't know.
Again,
Like,
just got
it's
to see
hard
how,
to
just
tell.
gotta see how they
Cincinnati
do the
team,
next year,
I don't know
right?
if they can even make the playoffs.
That's the thing,
Yeah.
right?
I'm
Who knows?
gonna shoot on it. Honestly, I could see it happening for sure. I agree. George.
For my take, I know it's a little bit back to the hockey thing a little bit. We didn't talk about it today. We're not going to talk about it completely today. I think Gavin McKenna is still going to go first overall after what happened because I think he'll find a way out of it, and I think
Okay, I'm gonna
get
give the
drafted.
viewers some context before we get into this. So if you guys didn't hear, Gavin McKenna was there was like an assault charge against him
Bar
in a
incident,
bar.
yeah.
Someone was harassing his mom. He punched the person in the face.
yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Under charges right now, but
yeah.
I do think that eventually he's going to find a way to get
Well,
out of
the
it.
court
and he'll go
hearing
first
is on the
overall 'cause he's
11th
so
of February.
good.
Is
Yeah.
on the 11th, so
Yeah.
we're gonna see. But I could definitely see the charges getting dropped because.
Yeah.
But we don't know all the things, right?
We don't know for sure.
what's going
It's, again,
on.
it's
That's
a very,
really
very
up
rough
in the
kind of
air,
thing,
right?
yeah.
If he does get proven not guilty, hopefully, because if what we think is true is someone's harassing his mom, if he gets proven not guilty, he'll go number one overall. Still, I don't
I think
see
so,
doing
too.
Yeah,
that.
in
Like,
terms of talent, he has to go number
yeah,
one overall.
and so like if you're defending your mom in a bar and someone's harassing them,
it's self-defense. Like, at the
exactly,
end of the
you're
day,
defending your mom. It makes sense,
I don't
right?
blame him.
Yeah.
if if he wasn't so highly projected, I think, okay, maybe like let's go back to the Luka Mayu situation.
Yeah.
I know
Oh,
he was
that-
going to go
yeah,
higher,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they told him, don't draft me first round, and he got drafted later.
Well, I think they were saying don't draft him.
Yeah,
right? Mayu didn't want to be
I
drafted.
think he
Yeah.
asked not to be drafted.
yeah.
The Canadians
and
selected
then
him
Montreal,
regardless.
Bergevin
And again,
drafted
listen,
him, yeah.
things happen, right? You also got to look at the 2018 players. Obviously, Carter Hart, the best one of the bunch that had their incidents, he obviously returned, and he's still playing for the Vegas Golden Knights right now, right? So,
Yeah.
again, I feel like when a player is that high of a stature, eventually they find their way back in, and I think he's going to still get drafted first overall, regardless. Hopefully,
Probably.
obviously, if the case
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
gets
of
drafted and
course,
everything.
of course.
I just don't see a player that good to get passed up so easily on.
Yeah, I that's not a bad point. Okay, so for my final take, I'm gonna return back to the NBA. Now, I think I'm gonna go in the direction of the Eastern Conference, the Detroit Pistons. I was very early in the season when we did our standings. I was very, very high on them
I'll give you credit for that. You
because
did,
I like
Yeah.
their core.
you did
I
have
like
him
their
high in
team.
the East. Yeah.
I like Duran. I like Cunningham. I honestly love what they're doing right now, and I think in the next 2 to 3 years they can win a championship. I'm being legit. I think that they can beat a team like OKC. I think that they can beat a team like San Antonio. They have that defensive presence in the paint. They have a good point guard who can play both sides of the
They
ball.
could.
I think that they can win the championship in the next 2 to 3 years. I think it's possible.
They got a lot more for me to prove. Obviously,
Yeah.
they haven't won a playoff round in God knows how
Yeah.
long, and they have to obviously win one this year, which they probably should because first seed. I don't see why they wouldn't, but it could happen again. We got to see the next couple of summers, next couple of trade deadlines, who they add, who they sign, who they let go of, who they trade for, who they trade away. It's a collection of things. I could see it happening, so I'm going to shoot on it for now because I do think that what they're doing there has been smart, and they have a good group of guys in the front office, and they've been doing a good job building this roster to the level it's at today. Obviously, it was only like 2 years ago where they were like dead last, and here they
Yeah.
are now, the first in the East. So
Yeah.
clearly, what they're doing is right, and I think eventually, at some point, something's going to give, and they're going to win a title at some point.
Christian?
I'm gonna pass just for now. I just want to see how they perform once they actually get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I just want to see them win a few rounds, firstly, and then I think they'll make a finals in that time period. I just think that it's another level that you have to be at to defeat Shea in the playoffs or Wemby.
Yeah. That's
I
a
just
very
don't see them getting
yeah.
past them, but I can definitely see a finals in that time frame. I probably don't think they're gonna win it all in that time frame.
Really. You don't think so?
In the next 2 to 3 years, no. I
Actually,
think
2 to 3, I don't
I think
know.
OKC this year. I think San Antonio next year.
Well, I'm
And
saying
then
2 to 3 years. There's another year after that.
Okay,
Maybe.
I think OKC, San Antonio again. They're just that
Really?
good.
So you think it's gonna be like LA and Chicago, eh? Like back in the day in
They're
the
just
NHL.
gonna battle for. I think
I don't know.
that's the conference championship for the next few years.
I
The
agree
Spurs
with that.
are already here.
I agree. I honestly agree. But like, I just with how young Detroit is, and they're gonna be so good, dude.
I don't know.
Kate
I'm not
Cunningham
counting
is a
out the Knicks either.
superstar.
I think the Knicks could go to the
Cunningham's
finals
a
this year or next year.
superstar. Duran is an all-star, and like they have a good supporting cast too. It's not like they're a bad team at all. So I really like the way they're going, the way they're moving right now. I think I can definitely see them beating some other teams, right? So with that being said, we are going to move on to our final segment of the night.
The most important segment of the night.
Christian.
Yes,
Yeah.
Christian. Super Bowl betting.
Super Bowl
The
betting.
best time to bet of the year. Let's go. Get hyped.
So
all right.
I am going to go with Jackson Smith-Njigba to find the end zone at any time. If they're gonna win this game, their number one receiver who's been dominating possession all year, he has to get the ball into the end zone.
100%.
Anytime touchdown for him.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That's a good pick for me. I'm going Seahawks -6.5. I do. Obviously, we said early at the beginning that we do think that they're going to win by a lot. I think they're going to win by a good amount. Again, the Patriots just don't have the overall team talent and structure that the Seahawks have for me. I think their offense has been so good all playoffs long, and so is their defense. I think they win by at least a touchdown in this
Yeah.
Super Bowl final.
I'm gonna go Seahawks too. Kenneth Walker, anytime touchdown.
I like
If they're gonna win, I think he's gonna have a touchdown.
Oh, of course.
Same with Njigba, and you just said their running game is pretty good. So
Yeah.
I like it, man. I think that they're the
think it's
obvious
gonna hit.
favorites. I think that's
I think it's
that's
gonna
a
hit, yeah.
hey. If you wanna use our reference please let us know so we can get a reference code from FanDuel. You know, we've been
Yeah,
waiting.
Let us know.
We've been waiting a while, but that's going to do it for us today.
Yeah, that's going to do it for us today. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a big game on the weekend, of course. Super Bowl Sunday, Seahawks Patriots. Let us know who you guys have in the comment section down below. Who's going to win that matchup? Yeah, I mean, we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys around next week. Make sure you follow us on. Make sure to subscribe and like the video if you really enjoyed this. We're also on TikTok, Instagram, Apple Music, and Spotify if you want to listen for more stuff. We're the Spread Podcast. That's Christian. That's Joseph. I'm George, and we're out of here. Thanks for watching.
Spread out, boys.